So I'm going to do this pattern in a little different method. I'm going to take the measurements. I was going to glue it down and cut it out and yada yada yada. I decided I'm going to go by the measurements. We got 9 inches by 3.1. 3.125 is 1/8 of an inch. So we'll go 3 1/8 by 9 is the outer body for this one. First thing I need is a good clean edge. So that needs to come first. And then I need to find one corner that I can make sure is straight up 90 degrees. A square is something that every good shop should have handy. So this is my edge that I cut nice and straight. I can run this right up against that edge and see that I am not square. So I'm gonna put the short arm up there, put the long arm up against the bottom here. I just need to make enough room to put a ruler on there. Now I have, this setup works really well, but I don't trust this square. I want to have a square that I can trust. I've checked this one against a couple of different squares. I know it's square. That should give me a nice square corner right here. Let's mark that. So I'll have measurements that'll come off of both edges. That's why it needs to be square. And it is beautiful. Now I can go and just use that square corner, and this piece is 9 long. The way I like to measure that is I'll just use 2 rulers. 2 rulers that I trust. I don't need this long one, I need a shorter one. And I want to go 9 inches. Let's get some better light. Make sure you got good lighting. If you wanted to do this with a vernier caliper, you'd need a pretty big caliper. Don't have one big enough for that. And you know what they say, measure twice, cuss once. So I've got my length at 9. Now I need my width at 3 1/8. So if I set my ruler here, just to double tap right on my 9. 3 1/8. So there is my back. And I'll always put the measurements on there. So it'll look like that. Whoop. So we got those two pieces done. Real simple. The other pieces that we need to make are pockets. So we have one piece that is simply 2 inches by 4 inches. These are really simple. You don't have to flip them over or anything special. They're just 2 pieces. So we need 2 pieces cut at 2 by 4, and this one we're going to make this little bit of a jog in. I always like when they put dimensions on patterns. So let's see. I've been cutting against that ruler for probably 10 years. I think it's gotten a little worn. And this square, I think I got this one at Weaver. You can go anywhere. I know a couple of tool websites that have some pretty reasonably priced squares. This one has this grip tape on it, and it's not even really, it's rubber tape. It doesn't have that grit to it because we don't want to damage our leather. So here's our square corner. Again, we'll put a mark there. If I take and do 4 inches from here, there's my 4. Now from this square edge down here, I'm going to go 2 inches, and then I'll go 2 inches again. Now using this pattern, I'm just going to measure how far that goes in. It goes in 5/8 of an inch. You don't need to go that far. I found that 1/2 inch is plenty. But we're going to follow this pattern. So we're going to go in 5/8 and down. I think somebody was measured in metric. They sure were. So this is 9/16 about, or we have metric on our ruler too, so we can just go this way. And it is 14 millimeters, 9/16 of an inch, roughly. Now we were in 5/8. This is where it's really nice to have a ruler that goes all the way to the end. And you can see there that my measurements take me right to the end. Whereas this one does not. There's like 1/8 of an inch off the end there. So that's why I'm pretty picky about my rulers. We'll do the same measurement on the other end. This is a cork-backed ruler. This one, I have some of that rubberized tape on it. Works either way. They both work pretty well. I'm going to put the tip of my blade right in the corner, press down with it, and then I'm just going to follow that line carefully. There we go. So now I have both of my pockets. I have an inner pocket and an outer pocket. So now here I want to put that this dimension here is 5/8. And then on this side I'm going to put this dimension as 9/16. Just to keep everything in, I guess, American? I don't know. Standard measurement. And again, the 2 inches by 4 inches. So I have the overall size. Now if I wanted to make a stash pocket, I would just make that 4 inches by the height of the inner or the back, whichever one, the 3 1/8. But I'm not doing a stash pocket on this. This is going to be plain old wallet. And I'll show you. The nice thing about this wallet is you don't have to worry about flipping this pocket, because it's the same no matter which way you do it. One thing that I've found that makes cutting out the corners like this a little bit easier is if you take a punch. It doesn't have to be a big one. I've got I don't even know what size that is. Probably a little less than an eighth maybe. And just get in there right in the corner. Put it right on your lines. And you just punch a hole in the corner. That way you don't have to don't have to worry about overcutting so much. If you overcut, you're going to create a weak spot. And a round corner is stronger than a squared corner anyway, because it doesn't have that edge. And you don't have to do this step by any means. I like to do it just because I know it's going to be a little easier to cut. So as well as piece of white glue, as well as I can just see my line. So I'm cutting, I'll start right in that circle. I should be right up against my ruler. And just go like that. Do the same coming down. And that way you won't overcut in this corner. If I take a piece and I punch a hole, simulate this corner once. Now I'm probably not going to be able to wreck this anyway, but it doesn't give a hard spot to cut or to break. Like it does here. If you can see right there, I overcut just a little bit. Granted, I wasn't trying real hard, but if I take and pull it, that's where it tears. Is right where that spot was. And this is a 3 to 4 ounce, but the other side, I can't tear it. There we go. I knew sooner or later I'd get it. But this is like a 3 ounce leather, and you can tear it. I don't think you'd tear a chrome tan, but that veg tan will get it. So the little round spot, it helps it be just a little bit stronger. I should have cleaned off my cutting mat here before I started working on it. And if you wanted to, like on the other bifold wallet, I'm just making this according to that pattern, except for I used holes in the corners. Mostly because everything is so straight on this. It doesn't matter, you're not going to rip that out. I haven't yet on any of my wallets, but it's just a little trick that can be picked up along the way. So you can, if you want to, angle this part in a little more. It's not a problem. You can do it. You can do whatever you want. That's what these patterns are all about. So I need to get rid of this mat because it's filthy. And then I'm going to skive these pockets. The pattern, you certainly don't have to. Just like that. Keep in mind, this tool works great as long as you keep a sharp blade in it and you take some time to practice with it. Number 3 edger. Just so we can get the tops done. And you don't have to do the tops if you don't want to. So we don't have much more than that to go. I will, I think I'm going to dye this wallet. So I want to get out, find the color that I want, and I decided on a Phoebing's Walnut. It's a nice color, nice shade of brown. And it'll take a few coats. And at some point it will soak through. Alright, my dye is all dry. Ready to do what I need to do. The first thing I like to do with freshly dyed piece is buff it. Just kind of, there always seems to be a little, I don't know, like dust left on it. A little whatever was left after the alcohol and the dye dried out. I just like to buff it off. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I think these came out pretty good. Now you can oil before you dye. If you like to do that, it doesn't really matter. I go both ways on it. I don't know why this piece turned out lighter. So that's what I was saying, maybe the oil will even out the leather. You can see there's some little bit of maybe splotchiness. The oiling it will kind of let that even out a little bit, whether you oil before or after dyeing. I'm going to oil after here in the next few minutes, but the one on top there looks significantly lighter, so I may have to re-dye that one. I might have missed a coat when I was doing it the first time around. It's hard to say. The rest of this, and I may just oil that piece too. So the front and the back, there's a little discoloration down here. I'm not going to worry about that because that's the inner piece and a lot of that's going to get covered. But I may just give everything a nice quick coat of dye. And, well, this is why you buff it off. I might just have to, maybe I'll just give everything another coat. And then I'll probably have to let that sit for a while anyway. And I'll come back when I can. If it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow. After that second coat, or extra coat of dye, I wanted to, the leather got really stiff. And I've already oiled this one, so I'm kind of just working the oil in. But I just want to loosen it up a little. It wasn't this stiff to start with, so I know it was the dye that caused that problem. And it's just one of those steps that I kind of wanted to take care of. Now, along with this, after the oil is good and dry, I'm going to burnish the top of every piece because that's just a good time to do it. I know this looks significantly darker right now. It will lighten up as the oil soaks in good. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not going to be like it was, but it will lighten up. There we go. Let those set up, and they'll set overnight, and then we'll get after them again tomorrow.